Hello, Spendable Sci-Fi Christian. I forgot what I usually say here. Anyway, Game of Thrones review, Dance with Dragons.
Yep.
And you guys are?
I'm Emily Kirkwood.
And then Kirkwood.
Man, I got a skip to the
Yeah,
script. What was that? That was terrible.
Smokes.
Anyway, let's open this beer. This is Points Unknown IPA from Stone. This is a collaboration between Stone out in California, which is very well known. A place called Ecliptic, excuse me, which I haven't heard of before, and something called Wicked Weed, which is apparently a brewery and not a marijuana distributor.
That's good.
Also haven't heard of them. I had a bottle of this last week, and I thought it was amazing. This is a double IPA blended with a Belgian or barrel-aged Belgian-style triple. Comes in at 9.5%, and I'll be curious to see what you think of it.
Yeah, I'm big on my Belgian triples.
That's right.
But not so big on the IPAs, let alone a double IPA.
Well, actually, it's not super hoppy.
All right.
Well,
And
here.
I'm still here and still
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
Not in the hospital.
Yeah, not in the hospital.
We're all for water breaking tonight, though. No.
I don't know. It sounded there's a little marital tension there. Some of us wanted to wait till the Game of Thrones finale.
Yeah, I know. I have my last curling match next week too, so.
Yeah. So.
I'm ready anytime.
It'll come
kidding.
next Sunday.
No
It's gonna
kidding.
come, yeah.
Well, your first one, it takes a long time. It's in labor, so like when Ellie, my first daughter, was born, I didn't even knew she was in labor like 20 hours in advance. So you come here, you're in labor.
Yeah,
exciting
we might as well
videos.
start
Video
here.
and
Yeah, just
Exactly. You can't go to the hospital. They won't admit you to the hospital until contractions are a certain amount apart.
Right.
So we could have a really exciting video next week,
Yeah.
regardless of what
Yeah.
happens on the show.
It's like, we'll watch her go from 7 minutes apart to 5 minutes apart on the video.
Exactly.
And then we'll just go to the hospital.
Yeah.
Okay.
Be a little piece of history for Henry when he's born. But so one way or another, there will be a video next week. I know we skipped one earlier in the season, but season finale, a video will get done, even if it's just me sitting here lonely talking to myself.
Maybe you have Annie come out.
She won't do it.
Oh.
Maybe you have the.
That's about most
Sam
of the
on the
sci-fi
couch
Christian
with you.
videos are me just lonely in my office talking to myself. So
Yeah, but it's podcast. It's not YouTube videos.
no. The YouTube videos are me
Oh really?
in my office talking to myself. The
That's
podcast is me and Matt interacting.
That's a little depressing.
You can just come to the hospital after the baby's born.
Yeah,
and
That's
then
right.
You guys can.
We could do it
go
in
talk in the
labor
hospital
there.
Yeah.
lobby or something.
It's like it's fine. Hey, can you quiet down?
When you're gonna be up all night.
Yeah.
All right, what do you think of this?
I'm still working through my head here. You're right. It's not hoppy.
It's
This has much more Belgian triple qualities than it does IPA qualities.
It does, but I think the blending gives it enough of a difference where it makes it a very unique brew.
It's kind of got a little citrusy taste to it.
Yep,
yeah,
definitely.
I like that.
Sure.
It's good.
Yeah, I was completely blown away by it. And like you were saying, it's another blend, or maybe you said that before we started recording, but so I was just telling you about this blend that I had at the Surly Brewery here in Minneapolis, St. Paul area, where when I was there yesterday, they had a stout, an imperial stout blended with an IPA. They called it their Black Ale 1349 or 1393 or something like that. It was 13 something, and holy crap, that was amazing. Came in at like 13%. It was.
Was it 13.93%?
It wasn't. They didn't nail it like that.
Oh.
They should have.
Well, what's the 13? I don't
It was
know.
like-
I'm sure there's a thing.
Yeah, it's a collaboration with some. It meant something to the place they were collaborating with. I don't know.
Whatever.
But yeah, great beer. So hey, maybe with homebrew, I'll have to try a collaboration not a collaboration, but like a blended beer sometime. That could be
Yeah.
kinda
You have to
interesting.
research how to do it first, but yeah.
All right, so a lot to talk about this week.
Just a touch.
Yeah, what I want to start with actually, before we get into the episode, is something that has been bugging me all day, So you and I both kind of had, I think me more so than you, had the big twist spoiled for us. In terms of, so the whole thing with Stannis sacrificing his daughter.
Right.
Not in the books yet. We'll talk about that in a minute. And obviously it's the big moment this week. So that would have been I honestly don't care about spoilers that much. So I didn't really care that I was spoiled. But what stuck in my craw a little bit today as I was spoiled about this is that, like, the first way, I got spoiled a few ways. I saw people, like, updating it on Facebook. Oh, Stannis, you bastard, or something.
Right,
It was
right.
obvious he did something. But I kind of like to, because we record these on Mondays, and so after the reviews get out on some of the different sites on Sunday night, I kind of like to just go check and see what the score they gave it or something. And I noticed a few sites putting up yet again just this insufferable theme that we've had to deal with the last few weeks of, has Game of Thrones finally gone too far? And I gotta tell you, I just want to rant on this for a minute, because I am so sick of this. I'm so damn sick of this. It's enough is enough. You know, you don't have a right to not be bothered by things in this world, especially things you voluntarily choose to watch. And the fact that this seems to now be the every single week theme that reviewers want to bring up is, oh, Game of Thrones did something controversial. Well, no kidding. Have you been watching the show the last 5 years? It's a controversial show. They do dark and disturbing things. It's about dark and disturbing people doing dark and disturbing things. Right. And I'm just sick of the conversation about what to me was a brilliant episode, a brilliant show, being derailed because, somebody might have been offended. You know, we live in this society that's continually going down this road of being increasingly coddled, and we can't handle things that bother us. I don't know if you saw the quote from Jerry Seinfeld.
Yes, I did.
Today,
yeah.
Where he was talking about how he doesn't play at college campuses, and there's a bunch of comedians that won't play at college campuses. Why? Because political correctness has gotten so out of control that you can't do humor about anything without people being bothered and boycotting you and everything. It's like, and there's a whole, colleges have just gotten out of control with this, in that whether it's trigger warnings on classical literature or, just the intense effort to coddle everyone so no one is ever made uncomfortable by any ideas that they encounter. And that's especially absurd in college. But then, even when it's in pop culture like this, it's like, come on, people. Enough is enough. Be a grown-up and watch the show, or don't. If you don't like it, which I don't blame anybody who says, oh, Game of Thrones is disturbing, I don't want to watch that, that's fine. But then don't watch it. But enough of the, it went too far, it bothered me. If you're going to watch a show, you're going to be bothered, because that's the type of show it is. And I just have enough of the childish, PC nonsense surrounding this.
Right.
Anyway, that's my rant on that.
That's good. I agree.
We're
good.
Enough is enough.
Right.
Either watch the show or don't, but just quit screwing around with it. All right. So I had to get that out of my system before we started. I know. Not that I think our viewers are usually pretty cool about that, at least from what I can tell from the comments. But man, there are plenty of people who are, bothered. Well, if you're going to be bothered, don't watch a show that goes into bothersome themes. Simple as that.
Or just be bothered and keep your mouth shut.
Yeah, grow up.
Accept that that's part of it.
Right.
Life is going to bother
by
you.
things probably every episode, but that's just part of what this show is.
Right.
And that's the point, is that you're supposed to be bothered. Like, if you watch this and you're not bothered by child sacrifice, there's something wrong with you. And so, rather than just, that bothered me, and it shouldn't bother, I shouldn't have to be bothered, that's the problem I have.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
It's okay to be made to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. And if you can't handle being made uncomfortable in a TV show that's fake, I don't know how you handle living in the world day to day.
What do you do when you watch the news?
Exactly! What do you do with people in your life who say stupid things and piss you off or offend you? I don't know. Anyway, I love this episode this week. I don't know what you guys thought. I thought this was actually better than last week's, and that's saying something.
It was very very strong.
That was better than last week's. It was pretty good.
I mean, yeah. Better in a different way, anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it's just different.
Yeah.
Right? You love both the kids, but they're different.
That's right. I mean, I felt like last week, it was solid across the board, but it was really riding on Blackwater Mini there at the end.
Right.
Whereas this was like, it was thematically strong the whole way through. Lots of great moments throughout.
And with multiple characters.
Right.
Lived up to episode 9 status.
Yeah. Even Dorn wasn't that bad this week.
No, Dorn was decent this week. Decent. That's as
Yeah.
high as a grade as I'll go. But
Exactly. Yeah, it wasn't, Dorn didn't blow
Right.
my socks off. I mean, it's gone at this point, at least for this season. Hopefully they can rescue it a little bit next season, but man, they have not done a great job with that storyline.
No, that's disappointing. Anyways.
Anyway, so episode opens with a fire in Stannis' camp. Presumably Ramsay's 20 good men that he asked for have been busy little bees, and they've been lighting some fires.
Which was that? Did we see Theon in camp? Was that him?
I didn't
think
see him.
so. I think it was. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't, because I was kind of going. Is that something? No, I don't think. I think it was just supposed to be like a really cold soldier meant to show you how miserable.
Because it
Stannis
kind
is
of
already.
looks like
I
Theon.
thought it was like somebody freezing to death. That's what it looked like to me. They
no,
were
I thought
showing.
that was Theon, but
I think it's just the emaciated medievalish looking fellow.
right.
All kind of start to look the same.
Yeah.
I start to look like Theon.
Yeah,
Which is
exactly.
a little worrisome,
Exactly. Yeah, poor Theon.
but oh,
So that was kind of an interesting intro and shows that Stannis is in rough shape. Now I want to go away from Stannis' storyline. Let's talk about some of the other things before we get back to. I think that and Marine are kind of the two big ones. So
right. Let's go to the other.
so yeah,
one.
Stannis we're shown at the very beginning is in bad shape, and something needs to be done, or his campaign is over. Meanwhile, at the Wall, not a lot happened at the Wall, but I really thought they did a good job of, in almost no words at all, but simply through editing, through the looks of the different actors,
Right.
showing that things are a little tense back at home.
There's some
Yes.
serious discontent among the Night's Watch here,
Uh-huh.
for sure. And it's not unwarranted. It's hard to be fighting these people for thousands of years and being like, actually, they need to be on our side of the wall.
Right. I felt like it went even farther than that, though. Like, Alistair Thorne's line, which I loved this week, where he said, "You have a good heart, Jon Snow.
Right.
It'll get us all killed." It wasn't just, what are you doing bringing wildlings across? It was like, look at what you did. You went up here on this big campaign.
Right.
You came back with almost nothing. What are you doing?
Right. But that's the theme throughout the entire,
Right.
throughout every storyline that we saw today. It's you have to make a decision, and
Right.
the lesser of two evils, really, with
Mhm.
most of these decisions, and it's what are you do like after they've done it. We watched it 2 times today, 3 times kind of like
Yeah.
what are you doing after you make this big decision?
I mean, that quote might be the thesis statement for Game of Thrones as a whole. You have a good
Right.
heart, you'll get us all killed,
Yeah.
Ned Stark, anyone?
I
And,
guess that guy.
yeah.
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 Everyone, it used to be so simple.
Yeah.
There was
We all knew
Winterfell,
Ned was
yeah.
going to win. Remember that? Nope.
I remember that 400 pages in. I was like, she's got this.
Yeah. And I liked, Sam sitting there kind of talking to John and trying to say, well, you made a difference in this life, and this life, and this life. And that's another theme of this episode. It's that, yes, John saved individuals, but at what cost of the greater good?
Right.
And that's another theme that comes into this episode of the individual versus the whole, the greater good. And part of what's interesting is that we may not, in thinking about this episode, arrive at the same conclusion in each of those instances. For example, maybe we look at what John did here and say, okay, he didn't bring back as many people as he wanted to, but he brought, he still saved these people, and that's a good thing.
Right.
And then you contrast that Stannis, where presumably, at least based on the preview for next week, it seems like the Lord of Light comes through with his little child sacrifice, but it's like, no, not worth it.
Right.
Bad idea.
Trial.
Yeah, exactly. And so, again, going back to, not to reignite the rant or anything, but why does troubling material like this, why is it important dramatically? Well, because it makes you think about those sorts of things from different angles. And that question of the individual versus the whole, you come to very different answers depending on which scenario you're looking at.
Right.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed what we had at the wall this week, even though it was very slight.
Short and, yeah.
Short and sweet.
Reminded me of the starfish little,
Mm-hmm.
whatever you call that, story that they always talk about. Well, you saved that one, and you saved that one, and you saved that one.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, okay, all right, we get it.
Yeah.
But anyways.
So then Arya, now this was not in the books with her and Maren Trant.
No, but I love that they put it in.
It was great, yeah.
And I think I know
They'll do
that
something
they...
with it next week.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it after she leaves. But
Yeah, so Maren Trant, this was a great example of the show rewarding careful viewing, which I like because TV shows are always very reluctant to do this with such a minor character. But for all of you who don't remember Sansa's litany of names that she prays every night,
But she has not prayed since she got to the House of Black and White.
that's true. That's true. But Maren Trant was on that list. I believe he had a hand in killing, allegedly anyway, killing Syrio Forel. Had a hand in her father's death.
Yeah.
He's a member of the King's Guard. So, just to refresh everyone's memory, it was, and within this whole sequence, it was great to see Mark Gaddis again, or Mick Gaddis, or whatever the guy's name is there at the Iron Bank.
The redhead?
Yeah. Which people who have watched Sherlock on BBC will remember him.
Right.
Presumably you have.
All 5 of you?
What do you mean all 5 of us? Great show! Now that you're on summer vacation,
Yeah.
thank you, from school, there's only like 9 episodes of Sherlock, so
Oh.
catch up on that in no time.
It's not quite Doctor Who with 40 seasons.
Yeah. No, it's not.
All right.
So you can catch up on Sherlock in no time. Anyway, this was a great moment for Arya's character in terms of, is she going to commit her first murder? Who's she going to do it with?
It's not her first
Well,
murder.
not her first murder from within the House of Black and White.
Right.
Is she willing to put aside, again, the theme of the individual versus the greater good, her own personal vendettas for the larger purposes of the many-faced god?
Right. She's been told to kill somebody, but she wants to kill somebody else, essentially, is how it works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Vengeance is gonna win. I think that she's gonna get her little sword that she hid away, and she's gonna kill Maren Trant with it. That's my prediction.
This is a great prediction, I guess. I mean, we don't know either, since Maren Trant was not...
Oh, we get to do predictions, like, for the first time in recording these! This is awesome!
We did last week, too.
Yeah.
I think I called the last episode.
Alright, I predict the opposite. Then I'll just, for the sake of diversity in the show, I will say that no, she will want to, but ultimately she will stick with the House in Black and White. She's not going to bail on that. She just kills everyone.
No, I say that she does it, and then she gets in trouble for it.
Okay. We'll see. But it was a great sequence and everything. And I don't think she fooled Jagan Hagar for a second when she told him, he wasn't hungry today. Or
No,
whatever.
I don't
He
think
knows
so.
everything.
All right, Dorne. So like we said, I think this was okay. There were some moments here I really liked this week. Jamie and his conversation with Prince Doran. I loved Illyria drinking or not to Tommen, where she just...
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's probably the best Dorne scene. Probably the longest Dorne scene we've seen, though, too.
Yeah.
They just haven't devoted enough time to it for it to become significant. And maybe they're planning on bringing some of that stuff back next season. Oh, there's a storyline that they won't finish this season.
That's true. Yeah, and that's the interesting thing, and I'm not going to say what the specifics are just because I don't know what they're going to do with it, but there's a storyline in the books that helps you that completely decodes Prince Doran's character.
Right.
And they seem to have skipped that.
Yeah.
Maybe not. We're certainly not going to get to it next week. But at least for the moment, that seems to have been skipped over. So I don't know how we make sense of his character then,
Right.
in light of that storyline being absent. And like I said, I'm not going to go in more specific than that, just in case they do bring it in next year. I think it's highly, highly, highly unlikely at this point.
Yep. I think so too.
I was really surprised that, what's her name, Illyria?
Mm-hmm.
That she kissed his hand. I thought she was gonna, like, say no, kill me. Or that she was gonna, like, somehow kill him or get, like...
Oh.
I thought that was...
Yeah, I think that could be a point of criticism for this
Yeah,
episode, is
definitely.
that seemed to kind of come out of nowhere.
Right.
Yeah, it was just
Yeah.
like all of a sudden they were sitting there and he was like, hey.
Get
But
with the
kids are not-
program! Yeah.
I think she's just offended at herself a little bit there that she values her life over the cause that she's fighting for.
Right. But I mean, she went from completely defiant to submitting to him without...
Seemed pretty...
Yeah,
quick.
it felt
Nothing,
like
like,
there was
changed
some
in
type of
between.
Well, in
material
the
cut
books,
that, yeah.
they're up there for like 3 months and locked in a tower.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly. So it felt like there was something the show skipped. And maybe
Right.
they filmed it, you know, I mean, we all know how deleted scenes go and everything.
Right.
And so who knows what was left on the cutting room floor. But in terms of the episode we got, it did feel very abrupt.
Yeah.
And just kind of plays into the ongoing weaknesses with Doran this season, where even when we get relatively strong Doran material, it still has some holes in it.
Right.
All right, so we still have the end of Stannis, and then we have Marine. Let's talk about Stannis first. So this was messed up. Now, he sends Davos to the wall once he knows what he's going to do. My question for you guys is, do you think Davos knows what's up? He's being sent away.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's why he asked for the family to go
Yep.
with, I think.
Yeah.
I
I don't
think-
think he knew the details.
Yeah, no,
'Cause
he
I
was
think-
wasn't he there for the conversation with Miss
Yeah.
whatever
He
her
knows
name
what
is.
she wanted to do.
Melissa.
Yeah.
Melisandre. He knows what she wanted to do. He knows that he's not the right person for this mission. Not that he can't accomplish it, but that the
Right.
Hand of the King is not the
Right.
right person.
Yeah, you could have sent somebody else.
Exactly. He knows that Jon Snow... I mean, it's a BS mission to begin with, anyway. I mean, Jon's not gonna...
So
Side
here,
with
take
Stannis or
our
whatever.
stuff
Right.
now.
And frankly, Stannis probably couldn't deliver on his promise to be able to send that many men up to the wall anyway.
Right.
And that's where, to me, like I said earlier, I don't really care about spoilers, and that's one of the reasons why. Because in my mind, spoilers is a complete misnomer. It doesn't spoil anything. Like, if a story is completely ruined by you knowing what's going to happen, it's not a well-told story. Not to say that there isn't something fun about, that first viewing or whatever,
Right.
where you don't know. But in this case, it's like, this is a perfect example. If you didn't know what was going to happen, you might completely miss that Davos is picking up on what's going to happen and miss
Right.
some of the subtleties of storytelling that they're going to be doing there. And so having known what the spoiler was, watching that, I was kind of like, okay, this in some ways is the most disturbing part of all this.
Yes.
That he leaves where he's, 95% sure he knows what's going down.
Yes.
Yeah, because potentially he could have, like, snuck away Shireen and
Right.
taken
Right.
her
And he
with
just
him
leaves
or
her.
something.
Yeah. Whereas Stannis just... He can shut off his emotions. Like, I mean, we've seen this. It's with Stannis, but with Davos, that was hardcore, man.
Yeah.
That was disturbing. And then, Stannis up for Father of the Year.
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. He just did it with such just.
And he just stood in the back behind his
Right.
men.
Yeah, that was brutal.
Even we saw Melisandre she couldn't even look her in the eye.
Yeah.
If she can't look somebody in the eye, something's not right about this, you know? It's just, ugh.
And this is one of the things that makes the Game of Thrones world so thought-provoking and so disturbing, is that whatever else is going on with the red god, you know, R'hllor, the Lord of Light, he's not a false god. I mean, there's something behind this religion in this world.
Right.
We've seen enough to know that. And so it's really disturbing that of all the religions in the Game of Thrones world, one of the legit ones is this.
Right.
It's like, holy crap. That's not cool. Yeah. And it was a powerful moment. It was a disturbing moment. It's one that completely redefined Stannis' character in terms of how far is this guy willing to go.
Right.
Well,
the answer is all the way.
Yeah, there are no limits.
Right.
And that's disturbing. I mean, and it'd be interesting to see what they do with him from here, because, you know, with characters, it's like, there's always that, and this is the case I think in real life too, is that there's always those boundaries, and it's like, well, once you cross a boundary, then it's like you're free till the next boundary, and it's very easy to cross it again. And it's like, this is the ultimate boundary, even for somebody like Stannis.
Right.
And once you cross this, there is literally nothing he will not do.
Correct.
Yeah. So, man, it was messed up.
And I
it
think,
should be.
you know, the interesting part about it was, I was thinking about it as it was happening on the show, how I was going to approach it on our show here.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, gosh, you know, it didn't happen in the books. Like, you know, I just don't think that George R. R. Martin would feel that way. But then, if you watch the little extra credits thing...
If you're watching on HBO Go...
If you watch... Well, no, I think...
I don't know if they
showed on the HBO or not, but...
But yeah, so they had like a little behind-the-scenes thing.
Right, and the producers said, and I remember it was when George told us about this scene, about killing his own daughter, and it was like, okay, so George told you that, so therefore it's going to happen.
Right.
In the books. And so early in book 6, I would imagine actually one of the first scenes in book 6, from where they end it.
Yeah.
This is going to happen, and...
Yeah, because book 5 ends, Stannis is in the blizzard, and we know that, you know, the Boltons are, it's like they're almost at war with each other, but not quite.
Right, and that's essentially where they're at.
Exactly.
Right now. So, gosh, you know, I really wanted to take the side, because it hadn't happened in the books yet, so I was going to be like, well, it didn't happen in the books, and so George didn't want it this way, but he did.
Yeah.
And that just makes you think even more, like, okay, so he wanted it this way. All right, here we go. And
here we go. Yep. Now, there's a lot to talk about with Marine, but just to kind of tie Marine to that whole storyline, I don't know what Dany's fiance's name is, actually.
Hisdar.
Hisdar, yeah.
Yeah.
Rosaznik or something like that. I don't know. He's dead now. Who cares?
Which did not happen in the books.
Yeah.
Doesn't.
Yeah, because in the books, he's behind the Sons of the Harpy, isn't he? Or at least
well, they
it's
never
implied.
say it.
Yeah,
but it was also implied up until he got stabbed in this episode. So.
Yeah, so who knows? But anyway, he had the great quote that I think really, and this was where I said this is part of why I think this was a better episode than last week, is that they tied all the stories together thematically much better in this episode.
They've done that a couple of times, and this is another one where it's good.
But he had a great quote. I don't know if I got it down word for word, but he said to Dany, "What great thing has been accomplished without killing and cruelty?"
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, what a great quote.
And Tyrion's rebuttal wasn't very good.
No.
Either.
No.
Tyrion usually has a really good rebuttal, but his rebuttal was like, well, it's not what has been done, but what will be done. And I was like...
Or
what ought to be done. Yeah.
And it's true, but at the same time, I mean, you know, it's a quote that I think rings so true even to our own history in this world. It's like, you think there's so many great things that we would applaud and say that was good, and you know, we're done with just unspeakable horror.
Right.
I mean, it was the anniversary of D-Day a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And not that that was an atrocity on the part of the Allies, but just at the same time, anybody who's seen the opening of Saving Private Ryan, it's like generals who willingly sent troops into that situation.
Right.
And not that they were wrong to do so, but it's like, you know, you're on those boats, and if you're the front guy by the ramp, and the boat, you know, the ramp goes down on those D-Day boats, you're gonna die. It's like, that's just it. And that's true. And that's like a mild example in history, because that's when we can say, well, that was horrible, but morally justified, most people will say. There's so many things throughout history that are just not even close to that, but where people did what we would consider to be good things, important things, worthwhile things, and there's this horrible dark side to them.
Yeah.
Yep. It's just,
It's
it's a disturbing quote that cuts right to, I think, one of the great themes of the show, and why this show is so relevant and so important artistically, what it has to say.
And why the people who are whining need to be quiet.
Exactly.
Killing and cruelty
Right.
is just part of the deal.
Yeah.
yeah. In real life, it's the exact same way.
Well, and even right down to the child sacrifice thing. I mean, obviously, you know, people aren't doing that today, but I mean, you go back through history. People did child sacrifice for exactly those reasons.
Genesis in the Bible.
Yeah, exactly.
Go back there too, and it
Yeah.
almost happened once. And
Right. You know, those things did happen, and worse than what we saw here for less legitimate reasons.
Right.
Yeah, like, just really a great and thought-provoking line. And that wasn't even the most exciting thing that happened in Marine, so...
Wait, what?
Yeah. So we have
They had
Jorah
a
come
good
out.
chat.
We have Jorah come out, and so in the books, now that Tyrion's out there too, in the books, Tyrion comes out and does this whole thing with, he's got this whole crew in the books where he does this little pig. He rides a pig and pretends to be Joffrey and whatever.
Right,
But Jorah never gets to go out
right.
before the dragon comes. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
So Jorah never actually gets to go out and fight, but he's getting ready to fight during this scene, and you know...
Yeah, because in the books, Tyrion has not actually met Dany.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And so in the books, this is the scene where Tyrion gets to see Dany, not meet, just see Dany.
Yep.
We still don't know how exactly they're going to meet in the books. It's unclear at this point, but anyways, that's besides the point. So this, I don't know, you know, is it the way it happened in the books? No. Is it the way it should have happened on TV? Absolutely yes.
Yeah.
This is the exact way it's supposed to happen on TV. I have no qualms with it whatsoever. I thought they did a fabulous job with this scene. The Sons of the Harpy coming out of the audience. Like that.
That's so good.
Yeah.
It's just, and it's clear to Dany at this point, I would imagine, that she's done everything to get these people to like her, and they still don't like her.
It's not going to happen.
Right.
She needs
And
to
so
go.
I would hope that as she flies off on this dragon, she's doing some serious thinking about, okay, so I've done everything they want, and they still don't like me. I need to go to Westeros, is what she needs to be saying.
Right.
And hopefully she comes to that conclusion next
Well, we'll
week.
see. I mean, yeah, there's still one more Dany scene from the books that
Yeah.
they could get to next week. You know, and speaking of the books and the show, I generally, almost always, I would say 95, 96% of the time, I'm going to say books over the show. Just they're more complex. The way Martin writes, you just have a lot of advantages for it, especially for a story like this. I gotta say, now that we've seen this whole sequence play out, having Tyrion meet Dany before before they do in the books, is superior. I mean, the TV show did that better. And the reason is that throughout the whole book, we're just waiting for this to happen, and there's no sense of fulfillment with that. And in the show, we get the payoff, and then we continue with the storyline.
Right.
So I still have questions about just what a high rate of coincidence that was when they met up. But putting that aside, man, they really did a good job with that change in the show.
Yeah, I am pleased with it as well. And I wonder if George didn't talk to them. Because if he's talking to them about such minute... I don't know, we talked about this right before the show started.
Yeah.
It's not a minute detail that he talked about killing off Shireen, but... Or whatever her name is. But it's a smaller detail in the grand scheme of things. And I was led to believe that they only talked about big picture things.
Yeah.
And that doesn't seem like a big picture thing to me.
Right.
So I wonder how much they talked, and I wonder if George may have mentioned, like, gosh, I regret not writing that they would have met a little bit earlier. It's hard for me to tie it in book 6. And
who knows?
I don't know.
Yeah. The Drogon scene, though, when he shows up is just fantastic.
Yeah,
Right.
that's amazing.
Really, really good.
I thought he had thicker skin than that, though, where they weren't going to be piercing him quite so easily.
I don't know. He seemed to be...
Seemed to be
I
fairly...
was fine with it.
He was right
seemed
on
to be
target.
fairly vulnerable, though. I mean, they
Yeah.
were sticking into him like, I don't know, like
Yeah.
toothpicks, kind of.
I was so worried he wasn't going to show up in this episode.
I wasn't. As soon as they got to the center of the stadium, I was like, all right, here we go. I'm waiting for
Yeah,
it.
it seemed like once we crossed a certain point of no return, then I was like, okay, he's going to come. But I mean, it goes back to the fact that I kind of glanced at a couple of reviews, not really read them, and I had everybody's so fixated on the Stannis thing. I'm like, well, wait,
Stannis thing happened at minute, 37?
Yeah, exactly, something like that.
And so, I mean, we had a whole another 20 minutes, 23 minutes of
And
stuff.
maybe we're not going to see Drogon this week. No, he shows up, and Dany gets on him and flies away, and it's perfect because Marine has completely fallen apart at this point. It's done.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, she's tried everything she can.
Right. She's
And
done everything
it
they
didn't
want,
work.
it still doesn't work. Yep.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So next week,
Next
we've got
week.
some exciting stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the last hurrah for book readers.
Yeah.
It's we know so much of what's going to happen next week and nothing for season
Right.
6, episode 1.
Well, that's not true. The Dorne scenes could still happen.
That's true, that's true.
But that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the only thing that's left. Everything else
Yep.
is gonna... It's gonna all go down next week, which is depressing and exciting at the same time.
It is. So, we'll see if you guys are here next week.
Yeah.
I'll be here.
You'll be here. No
Ben
matter
thinks
what.
he'll be here even if
No matter what.
I'll be here.
That's
no
right.
problem.
Any final thoughts on this episode?
Loved
It was
it.
just,
Yeah,
really
I thought it was
strong,
great.
really, yeah.
So, again, people complain, oh, season 5 is so slow. Come on. A little patience for the show. This is a great show. It's been a great show for 4 seasons before this. It's a great show now.
Right.
Quit the whining. Quit the whining about controversial elements. Quit the whining about it being too slow. This isn't Michael Bay's Transformers. This is a show that's thought-provoking and meaningful and has stuff to say. And sometimes that means that you have to set up plot lines rather than just have explosions every week.
Right.
So, hopefully we won't have to read more of that nonsense.
Right.
But probably not, because that seems to be the new theme. Oh, did Game of Thrones go too far? No, it didn't. Get over it. Or keep watching. All right, well, listen, guys, if we don't see you next week, just on behalf of the Sci-Fi Christian, congratulations.
Thank
Otherwise, well, I hope you're here, just because the show's better than when it's just me. But I know, Emily, you don't hope that. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, that's it for now. I'm Bendy Bono.
I'm Emily Kirkland.